Nottingham, and the city's highly successful express transit system has only been in service for the last 5 years. The original trams, as in other towns and cities, had been retired for about 70 years in favour of supposedly more economical and reliable public transport. But only 20 miles away is the village of Crich, the Tramway Village, and home of the National Tramway Museum, and in 2009 is celebrating its 50th anniversary since the first tram arrived here in 1959. That tram was Cardiff number 131, here seen nestled away amongst some of the other trams in the workshop. And it all started with a visit to Southampton in 1948 by a group of enthusiasts who decided to save a tram from the scrapman's blowtorch. Costing the then princely sum of £10, Southampton Corporation's tram car number 45 was the first tram purchased for the future tram museum, finally arriving at the museum site in 1960. In 1955 the Tramway Museum Society formed and held their first meeting in November of that year. A site for a tramway museum was needed and was found along a disused mineral line at Cliff Quarry, Crich. The track bed was still intact, but most of the site was in a derelict state. However, it was acquired and work commenced on the site in 1959. Into the 60s, and the first tram rides began at Crich in 1963. Pulled by a horse called Bonnie, these were horse-drawn tram rides over a 200-yard track costing sixpence, that's 2.5p in today's money. A year later, in 1964, trolley wire was first fitted up at the Tramway Museum, allowing an electric tram to be run along a line at Crich for the first time. In 1968, Crich held the first of its special days, a transport extravaganza, and since then there have been many special days at Crich, ranging from music festivals to car events. Also 1968 was to see an escapee from Czechoslovakia, Prague tram number 180. And with an ever-expanding fleet of trams which had to be maintained and kept under cover, depots and purpose-built workshops were built before the end of the decade. Always part of the grand design was to set up a tramway village, as a quarry was not really a proper setting to see trams. Initially the original buildings were used as shop fronts and village printers, and in 1972 the foundations were laid for the facade of the original Derby assembly rooms, giving a unique landmark to the site. Throughout the 70s the museum's popularity just kept on growing. People loved to go and ride on those lovely old trams at Crich. Then in 75 the museum received royal patronage from the Duke of Gloucester, and in 1978 the then terminus of Wakebridge became only the midpoint of the line as it was extended to Glory Mine, the new line giving excellent views of the Derwent Valley. (1980) and Crich Tramway Museum can boast a fleet of 50 trams, and also the name changed as the museum became the National Tramway Museum, Crich. 1985 and Blackpool celebrates 100 years of trams and loans 8 trams from Crich to celebrate with. One of which is Toast Rack tram number 166, which had once been a camera platform used by the BBC. 1988 and a new structure was erected at the museum, the Bowes Line Bridge. A cast iron bridge that was cast in 1844 gives a great viewing platform which affords some excellent views of the tramway village. 1991 and a new exhibition hall opens, with a rather interesting exhibition.
It's the Tramways and Light Railway Show 1905. A must for your corporation tramways, with equipment from all the major manufacturers. With all items from the rails you'll need to the overhead power cable systems. There's even equipment for maintaining your lines when they're in place. And it's all here at the 1905 Tramways and Light Railway Show.
1997, and Berlin Tram 3006 becomes a special access tram for disabled visitors. Departing from the museum practice of trams being restored to original condition, the access tram has an integral wheelchair lift and space for 4 wheelchairs. The year 2000. A new millennium, a new name. Crich becomes Crich, the Tramway Village, home of the National Tramway Museum. 2002, and the workshop is extended to encompass a viewing gallery, around the walls of which are boards depicting a particularly interesting restoration, that of Chesterfield Corporation Tramways car number 7. Number 7 was bought in 1904 as Chesterfield Corporation switched from horse-drawn trams to electric, and in 1916 number 7 survived a fire at the tram depot, which totally destroyed 2 trams. In 1927 she was sold off and was turned into a holiday home, but after many years on a Derbyshire hillside, number 7 was removed to Crich, where in 1993 restoration began. 4 years later, and £250,000, and number 7 was back in service. Red Lion, one of Crich's latest buildings, brought in from Stoke-on-Trent. For 50 years now the trams have been running at Crich, but let's not forget the people who made it happen. The Tramway Museum Society and all the volunteers over the years who've restored trams, driven trams and made this happen. There's so much more to Crich Tramway Village than we could possibly cover in this short video. So we hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, we'll see you then.